Is it gone?
Oh, you're good now. All right, wonderful. That's fine.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty great. Got the song out and everything, and it's just been kind of follow-up work on that recently. So I don't know. I'm kind of vibing. Yourself?
I'm doing good. Yeah. Got to sleep in today because I quit my job the other day. So
Fuck
that
yeah.
was off to a good start. Reception to the song been like so far?
It's been pretty good actually. Instagram screwed me over a little bit with the algorithm because we love it, but most, it's just sometimes posts don't do as well. But people have loved the song that have heard it. Like, got a bunch of very nice things to say. Actually, you'll love this. My dad called me like yesterday and just went, I don't know who did it, but the engineering on this song, phenomenal.
Oh
The, la-
shit.
the layers, it's gorgeous. And he's not a sound guy by any stretch.
Oh, that makes me so fucking happy to hear.
Yeah, like pure skill on your end, my guy.
Thanks, dude.
Phenomenal work. Also, love the hair.
Oh, thank you.
I know you don't have too long, so we'll try and keep this on the more brief side. Um, so just first off, thoughts when you heard the song? First thoughts on Snowfall sent to you, everything?
I was honestly like I didn't know what to expect, but even then it just wasn't what I was expecting. Like it's very unique in like a kind of way that like I don't know, not a lot of people are doing right now.
Yeah.
Um, it kind of gave me like you had mentioned when you contacted me, you mentioned something about like the Don't Shout mix, and I
Yeah.
definitely thought I heard just like not necessarily like the same style, but like I felt like sonically somewhat similar,
Yeah.
like distinctly different. But I was like, I listened to it like a dozen times before I even started doing anything to it,
Yeah.
because there was just so much going on. I like really wanted to like feel it out first, and I was like, okay, I can definitely fuck with this.
Word. Thank you. No, it's that. Yeah, that I did send you a complicated ass song just on a mixing level, which I
Yeah.
mean, phenomenal fucking job, by the way. On the subject, actually, what is your process for mixing? How do you like go about?
Um, it ranges depending on the project. I will say that this one I did not take my normal approach at all. So like normally people will send me like very just raw stems, stuff that has not been touched at all, like it was just tracked, run into the session, and then sent right to me.
Right.
So normally what I'll do is like just to start, like I'll balance out levels, then I'll start panning, then I'll group things into different sections to make the mixing process a little easier instead of like doing like everything individually. I'll group guitars together, mix that. So I definitely took a very different approach with this song because I feel like not necessarily pre-mixed, but a lot of the stuff had already like a lot of the work had been cut out for me in a sense. Like you had like picked like you had already like rolled with like very specific tones that like sounded like already very solid. Everything was like panned and like kind of organized to an extent that's not normally the case when I'm getting stems. So like I said, I listened to it about a dozen times before I started doing anything because I was just like, all right, I need to feel this out and really like assess what does it need before I just go in and start doing shit just to do it, you know?
Right.
So I listened to it over and over and over and over again until I was like, all right, I think if we change this EQ a tiny bit, it'll shine out like through these other parts more. And then from there, it was really, really just a matter of like trying to like find your vision. So it was a very non it was a very non-traditional mixing process for me, which was honestly such a blast because it was just it all felt so new and like unique.
Yeah. I mean, shit. I couldn't tell this wasn't how you normally do it. It was very. Yeah. No. Yeah. It was a very very natural process.
Word.
That's super fucking cool.
Yeah.
What about this is as much as mixing is slept on in terms of people don't really think about it. People think about mastering even less. Do you have
Yeah.
like what do you do go about in that process? What's like your mindset when you enter? Because I know people think with mixing it's like, oh, here's how specifically I need like these parts to balance. But what is your thought process when you're entering like mastering?
Um, it usually can be pretty different depending on if I did the mix or if I'm just doing the master. So usually, for like a different kind of project, if I'm getting a mixed song and I'm just mastering it, I will usually kind of try to take that and then shape it more into what I think it should be, as far as like EQ spectrum, like how transient it is with like compression and limiting, and kind of try to like take the vision from the mixing engineer and kind of make it my own. But obviously, if I'm doing the mix, I kind of go into it with more of an idea of how I want the master to sound. So actually, on all of the mix, like the rough mixes I sent you, I did pre-masters on them.
Mm.
I did like a tiny bit of EQ, like bumped up like the high end a tiny bit. Did some like really like punchy like what's the word? Master compression just like on the master output, and
Right.
then some limiting just because like I was like, all right, like this is a general sense of how I want the master to come out. So if I include this when I'm doing the mix and when I'm sending it back to him, I can kind of keep that like and kind of like keep my ears and eyes on that like final sound before I like actually go into it and redo it. So from there, it was really just a matter of like after I mixed it, wanting to like kind of stick with that and then kind of touch a little bit more on different things I thought could improve it. So like in like the pre-masters, it just did EQ, compression, and limiting. I think on the final one, I did like a pre-EQ, saturation, compression, then like a post-EQ, and then limiting, and was just like really trying to go for like a really like in your face, pumpy, punchy kind of like master sound.
Yeah. Shit, it fucking came through. It's sick as hell. Do you have, we're getting real deep into gearhead territory now, but do you have like specific pet favorite effects, or do you use like native Logic ones? Like, do you have one compressor that you just love to go to? Or
Ooh,
like,
yeah, I use like a waves compressor. It's technically like a bus compressor. So you would do it on like when you group different instruments together. It's really good for that. But like honestly, I think that shit kills on almost anything. I used it on all of the drums. I used it on the vocal bus. I used it on the master. Yeah, I slapped that shit everywhere. And then on like the final master, I just used what's it called? What's it called? Isotope, like Ozone 8, I think.
word.
So then that has like EQ, compression, just like all the different. It's like a mastering bundle. Yeah, as far as mixing, it really just like different plugins that I use. It really just depends on like the tone. Like I said, like I had to listen to this like a bunch of times to really kind of get into the right headspace and decide like what I wanted to use, what sounds I thought would like be better brought out by different tools. But yeah, as far as like go-to plugins, definitely the waves compress like bus compressor. That shit just rips on everything.
Word. I'm noticing you keep saying like you very much have the approach of making sure it doesn't get lost. You need a clear vision before you like make decisions into the engineering process. And how did you come about that? Is that just like a self-taught philosophy where you like educated somewhere? Like what's the
No, so all of my mixing was just like even like self-taught even sounds like a stretch because it's just like I for years and years and years I never tried to teach myself. I just thought it was fun, so I would fuck around with it and decide what I thought sounded cool and what didn't sound cool. It wasn't until I was like I'd been doing that for maybe like 4 years on my parents' laptop and like GarageBand that I was like, all right, maybe I should like start looking up some like YouTube videos and like actually try to learn like what's what. So from there, I did spend like a few years teaching myself. Then I did like an internship at a recording studio once, but that was really like I learned a lot about like tracking and like engineering, but like none of like everything I knew about like mixing was pretty much just self-taught. But to your point, like wanting to go into it with like a very clear vision and like headspace was just a matter of trial and error because like when I first started getting into mixing and like was like, hey, like bands, artists, like send me shit and I'll do it like if you want. Um, Definitely made the mistake of thinking that like everything has to be mixed. Like I get stems, every single thing needs EQ, compression, limiting, saturation. Just like I have these plugins, I got to use them on everything.
throw them on
And
everything?
then yeah, and then you find that like your mixes just sound chaotic and like muddy and just confusing. And I think more and more I'm going into the direction of just like minimalistic mixing. Like listen to it a bunch, decide what it absolutely needs, and then just go from there.
Right. Yeah. You don't want to edit the core out of it
Yeah.
by throwing too much shit on it. That's a good way to think about it. Um, Real hard-hitting questions now. Seminal tragedy of the 1900s.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the seminal tragedy of the 1900s?
Oh God. Okay, that's such an open-ended question. Or can you narrow it down for me at all?
I'm not speaking about literature.
Just tragedy of the 1900s.
Right.
Um, the 1900 my birth. I was born in 97.
And truly, the world never recovered.
No, that shit was the worst. um, damn, I don't know though. I was not prepared for that question.
I don't know. I just like to throw it out. Some people have good answers to that shit. Like what scares me is when someone turns around like immediately, like they had that one in the chamber.
Yeah, just prepared for it.
Yeah, that I don't know why, but that is the most intimidating shit I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I would not know how to respond to someone like immediately like, oh, I know.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the specific battle in World War One. Oh yeah, horrible, horrible. It's like, um, when you're like mixing and stuff, do you have? I know you mentioned "Don't Shout" was a big one, which also phenomenal engineering on that song. That's just that song sounds awesome. You guys kick ass. But do you use like reference tracks specifically? You go like, because oftentimes I'll send to engineers and they'll be like, what's a specific track you want this to sound like? And you very much didn't like need that sort of reference point like that. So how do you go about kind of finding the sound in relation to other songs like that?
It really just depends on the project. More often than not, I'll ask the bands to send me reference tracks, especially if it's like, I don't know, like rock bands or emo bands, and they just kind of like send you like raw guitar and drum stems, and it's just like, all right, like, how do you want this mix? Like, what is the overall like sonic feel you want? Whereas like, I feel like with your tracks and like a couple others that I've been working on lately, immediately when I listened to it, I was like, all right, there's a vision here. It's just a matter of finding it.
Gotcha.
I think it really just it varies from project to project. On stuff that's maybe not as well engineered, it's more important for me to get a kind of a reference track because I'll have to do mixing on it to make it sound good. And then in that case, like I want to know what direction they want it taken in. Whereas like with your stuff, I feel like it all sounded like honestly, like I could have just like tossed everything in and just panned it and leveled it and be like, all right, like this sounds pretty good already. So it was really just a matter of listening to it until I thought I heard your vision, and then just like bouncing shit back and forth until you were like, "Yep, that's it." You know.
Word, yeah, thank you. That's all the questions I have, but before you go, I know you guys at Off Color are doing stuff. If you want to promo any of that, if you want to talk about like, your personal stuff for mixing and mastering, like, floor is yours.
Not much to say. Just like, yeah, we've been writing an album since, good lord, 2019 now. It's been a while. We're finally recording it with super dope producer Sean McCaw from 2319. Have you ever heard of them? If not, check them out. They fucking rip. But so that should be out. I don't want to say for sure, but like maybe in the fall. I don't know. Tough to say. But like, keep eyes and ears out for that. It'll be cool.
That's super sick. And your personal stuff, you want to like?
Oh my god, I haven't between working with clients and like working on the band's album for the past like year and a half, I have not I have not written personal stuff in a minute. I'm trying to get that.
I mean, like mixing and mastering services. Like,
Oh
people
god.
can do for that if they want to like.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna take like a month or two and like lay a little bit low just because like life's been super 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 chaotic, but like all about it. Like if you know people that want shit done, like definitely give them my contact info and we can figure something out. But like,
Oh yeah.
I love mixing.
When I edit this video for like the full thing on YouTube, I'll drop your ad in it.
All right, cool.
People can reach out after the 2 month grace period, of course.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. I'm gonna like cut back a little bit, but like, if someone sends me something that I really fuck with, like, I'll make it work.
We'll make time.
Yeah, for sure.
Word. All right. Well, thank you for coming on and chatting. Thank you so much for the mix and master that like brought that fucking song together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And keep kicking ass, man. Have a good one.
Word, you too, dude.